How's it going?
Good.
So what kind of day was that for the quarterbacks? Obviously some really big numbers that a lot of you put up and a lot of passes thrown around. And, what did you learn about your wide receivers today?
Yeah, I wouldn't say you learn anything new. Being at practice is just another day to us. We'd seen AD and D-Rob and Kieris and all the guys make plays like that before. I think part of that is just really good quarterback room and a good system. Carson prepares like a starter, Stetson prepares like a starter, and Brock prepares like a starter. Everyone's all about doing their job to get better every day. And I think you saw it in a spring game where there's certain things are simplified and made a little easier.
JT, you mentioned AD. He was obviously targeted a lot this game. Any reason in particular that you kind of honed in on him a lot?
Just about AD in general. He's very twitchy. He's got a really good, understanding of how to get in and out of breaks, which I think makes a good case for him when he's one-on-one. So that's part of it. Another part of it is just him being in the X position. Gives him a lot of one-on-one opportunities to win, and when you see a lot of one-on-one, you see your X's get the ball more often than not. But I'd say that's usually just the way it works out is if the defense, you go where the defense tells you to. If defense is based on what they're playing, if it's saying D-Rob at Z, saying Kieris at F, you just take what they give you.
We'll next go to Chip Towers, followed by Anthony Dasher.
Yeah, JT, can you just talk about what it's like to go against that defense? I guess you've been going against them most of the time in increments in practice, but look like they pretty much give you all you can handle most every down.
Yeah, and that's one thing you got to mention when you talk about Georgia football is that defense gives you everything every down. Starting with that front seven, it's absolutely elite, and the secondary, a little inexperienced in the secondary, but don't hold that against them. There's a lot of talent there. There's a lot of good players. There's no fear, in my mind, and there's no fear that I feel with that secondary on the field. They give us a look every day. They make a lot of plays. We make a lot of plays on them, but it's just good on good. We made some plays today, and they made some really good breakups today too.
Hey, JT, good to see you. I know you weren't throwing to Darnell today, but just kind of what have you seen from him this spring? I mean, his growth and knowledge of the offense and how much more of a receiver he can be in a weapon from that standpoint.
Yeah, you definitely do see a development in him. Last year, obviously, when you're coming from high school football to a real, Coach Monken NFL system in college, there's a shock that hits you right away, just because there's so much to it. You see it this year. He gets a signal right away and he knows what he's doing. He's not thinking twice about it compared to last year. Everyone that's new has a lot of mental errors and, it's just new. And in terms of his development physically, I think he's gotten a lot smoother in terms of getting in and out of breaks. And he's always had good instinct, but it's gotten even better to me in terms of understanding where the ball is going to be thrown, understanding where his grass is, and really taking advantage of, his size.
We'll next go to Dean Legge, followed by Charles Odom, and that may be our last two questions.
JT, you hit the backs, I think, 12 times today. As a quarterback, I'm sure you always want to score touchdowns, throw it deep, et cetera. What's the value in hitting guys short like that?
That's a great question. Because, especially I love throwing the ball deep, and you see it a lot. But especially when you have James, Zamir, Kendall, all the guys we have, I think checkdowns in general are the most underrated, underappreciated aspect of our offense. At a bare minimum, it's easy to throw. At a bare minimum, it's 3 yards, and that's if the first guy tackles them. It's very, very rare that the first guy tackles any of our running backs. So, if a defense wants to bring vertical pressure and drop back and play soft, or they're playing good coverage, if I have to check down 10 times in a row, I'll check it down 10 times in a row. There's no there's no problem with that for me. And I think you saw it a lot for Cincinnati. That 2-minute drive consisted of a pass to George and then 4 or 5 checkdowns in a row. It's really just taking what the defense gives you, and we trust our running backs with the ball to make people miss.
JT, coming back from injury, you had to have a quick learn for you last year. How important has this spring been for you with that in mind?
It's massive. You know, I think this is like this might be my fifth spring ball in my life, including high school. So I've never really had too much experience in spring, but the years that you do, I mean, it's just 15 extra practices. It's 15 practices worth of reps with the guys you're going to be playing. So, you know, if you got something that you want to work on based on last year that you saw that you didn't like, you have all spring to do it without having to wait a whole year. So there's been a lot of overall improvement to me personally. And then also with, you know, a lot of guys stepping up at the receiver room, there's a lot better chemistry that you notice from the spring game as compared to when 80 was first starting to, you know, rep with the ones.
Thanks, JT. Appreciate a good game, buddy.